Welcome back to the channel, guys. This video is going to be an awesome confession if I'm bullish or bearish on Palantir. I can't blame you guys for asking because I have done videos back to back saying, the Palantir price is going to skyrocket and Palantir is going to collapse after Q2 earnings. So I understand that you're confused. Today is a slow day. It's Juneteenth in the US, so I thought it's the perfect day to have a chat with you. I will try to keep this not serious, keep it a little bit on the funny side. And as always, if you like this video, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you want to go further, you can support the channel for $5 a month. First link in the description below. And you get access to all the valuations and tables and access to me and my eternal gratitude. So let's begin this video. So there are many aspects to this question, you guys. One of them is which time frame are we speaking about? Short term, midterm, long term? I'm going to take up all my views here, what I think about Palantir in the short term, midterm, and long term, and how long I am investing in this. But first, we need to handle a hate comment. So I get some hate comments about how totally irresponsible I am for having 100% of my stock portfolio in Palantir. And this is actually a true statement that 100% of my stock portfolio is in Palantir. However, this stock portfolio, which is about $100,000, used to be at one point when Palantir was higher. This is not all of my net worth, and this is not a big part of my net worth. I own a Swedish real estate company with two others, and we develop hundreds of apartments in South Sweden, and that is the company where majority of my net worth is tied up. And this is why I could completely afford losing 100% of my Palantir investment, and it wouldn't really matter to me. And on top of it, I'm planning to scale up my portfolio as I can. I'm hoping to add hundreds of thousands of dollars as I get money out of projects that it's currently in, because I want to diversify. And I'm going to also buy other stocks as opportunities present themselves, but I don't want to lock myself in. Maybe all of the money is going to go into Palantir. It will depend on the price, the future projections. Because remember, you want to buy great companies, and there's a lot of great companies out there, but you also want to buy them at a fantastic price. So what do I think long-term about Palantir? So I honestly think that in the next 5-10 years, the stock has a chance of hitting over $100 per share. Slim chance, but this chance is there. And obviously, if you're buying below $10, it's a 10x on the money. If you're able to buy around for $5, it's a 20x on the money. And obviously, if this happens, it's a fantastic return on any money that is invested now. In my investment thesis, the main thing that it hangs on is if they can keep the growth rate that they have. This depends on a few circumstances. Market saturation, how big is the market that they're in? Because currently they're serving, governments and the global 6,000 companies, and how many of these, and even not all the governments, right? Because they don't work with adversaries of the United States and the West. So only Western governments. And how many are there? 50, 60. And the global 6,000 companies. And then they will have to break up or, somehow be able to offer a smaller package of their product, because currently their, average customer pays them $6 to $7 million per year. Again, I write here TAM, what is their addressable market? So obviously the lower the price of the product, the, bigger the TAM is. And I think these are the things that fundamentally need to be figured out for the future. However, the product, the quality of the product and the stickiness of the product is no question to me. So for me, the only risk that I feel in this company is if they're able to keep their growth rate, as opposed to many other investments. I like investments, where you have a very clear, very handleable risk that is very easy to analyze, because, for example, I give you another company like Rivian, they have the same problems. You don't know how big is the addressable market, how saturated is the market going to be, because, they're selling an electric pickup truck and they haven't even made the product profitably, right? So there's way more risk that you have to pay attention to. Palantir is super simple for me, because it's like, can they grow? If the answer is yes, and I believe the answer is yes, then they're going to hit the $100 a share. And it's not going to depend on management. It's not going to depend on the product. It's not going to depend on financing, blah, blah, blah. So this is what the long-term future of Palantir looks like. Dedicorp takes us to the promised land, and obviously I believe in this, and this is why I invest into Palantir. So now let's make my prediction about the midterm, and I would say that this is, let's say, between 1 to 5 years. So after having done a ton of research and having done over 100 videos on my channel, after having done courses in tradings, valuations, lots of studies, although I have no qualification as a financial advisor, and after doing horrible amount of thinking, I came to this super reliable conclusion that I have no clue what my medium-term price projection of Palantir can be. It depends on the Fed, the recession, so many things. The only thing that I know is that over a longer term period, the stocks will hit their intrinsic value, and I trust that, they're going to keep growing and they're going to hit this $100. But medium term, no clue. So on the short term, here we go. I'm very, very bearish on the short term. I'm sorry to break it to you, but the macro environment is horrible. The Fed is raising the interest rates, that is to curb inflation. There is a war going on in Ukraine and Russia, and it looks like this war is going to be very prolonged. There is supply chain issues because of COVID and, because of adversities with, China, and none of these things, by the way, have a fast resolution. That's the other thing that makes me so bearish, that inflation is probably going to be high because oil is high, because of the, the war in Russia and Ukraine, and because the West is very underinvested in oil, and because, US hasn't had a new refinery since the 70s, and this whole sector is completely underinvested. So there is not a fast solution. Then on the supply chain issues, you need to, the factories that were in Russia and were in Ukraine and the ones that were in China, you either need to wait until the war goes away or the COVID-19 lockdowns go away, or you need to build new factories. And if you're not Elon Musk and Tesla, even them, it takes, 18 months, or no, 9 months was the Shanghai factory and 18 months was the Berlin factory. So if you are not them, it's going to take you years to handle this. Definitely not a fast solution. And then we have the Fed's lovely quantitative tightening, where they are basically burning up money, taking money out of the system. And obviously this money has, when they were printing money, a lot of it has gone into crypto and the stock market. And now that there seems to be a real return on your bond investments, I mean that the bonds actually start to generate interest, and maybe, if you keep your money in the bank, it's going to start paying you interest, then obviously you go away from risky investments like the stocks and crypto that is just falling anyways. You rather enjoy a for sure very low interest, and that pulls away from stock market. And at the end of the day, it's supply and demand. And if there's a lot of sellers and not enough buyers, the prices are going to go down. The funny thing is, none of the above have any effect on Palantir, the business. They only have effects on Palantir, the stock. So many people confuse and they think that the stock is the company. This is what I think makes Palantir such a unique opportunity, because if you look at the company's production and statistics, it's straight up. Everything is just getting better and better and better as time goes, and the stock price is going worse and worse. This is actually what opportunity in stocks looks like. When you see, the company going one way and the stock the other way, that is opportunity. Then on top of it, on the short term, we might have a horrible Q2. I even did a video about this, because they even guided for a much lower Q2 in terms of operating margin, and then with a lot of upside, to be fair. But I really don't know if we're going to have any upsides from Q2 from the Ukraine crisis. Again, I don't want to bore you with this. It's very detailed in the video that I made. However, for sure, what we know guaranteed is that if the stocks don't shoot up, then they will have a huge loss on their SPAC investments. This is about 100 million that is going to very much affect their, EPS, and it's just going to look horrible. Having said all these versions, now I want to tell you what I hope happens to the stock price in the short, in the medium, and in the long term. So I hope that Palantir continues to deliver on its business plan and on the product roadmap. And for me, what I want to see is that they are hitting their revenue targets, which is, 30% per year growth. they are lessening the stock-based compensation and they're inching closer to GAAP profitability. And when they're GAAP profitable, then even, to higher margins of GAAP, that they're continuously getting new customers. So their customers are increasing and the product stickiness, or what they call the net retention rate, stays over 100. And that metric staying over 100 basically means that if a customer paid them $100 one year, then the next year they pay them more than $100. I dabbled into a subscription business before, and it's super hard to achieve a net retention higher than 100%. And it's a direct indication that your product is super good. It's very sticky, basically. So I feel very safe as long as their net retention number is over 100. Then I really hope that in the short and medium term, the stock price doesn't rally and stays quite low. And in this time, I'm going to use it to significantly increase my income, obviously by focusing on my real estate company and some other ventures that I'm involved in. And I hope that for 2 to 4 years, there's going to be weakness in the market because of all the macro factors that I said. And I can really load up on Palantir, and not just Palantir, but similarly promising companies with every spare cent that I have. That's some funny spelling by me there. And this is the best case scenario. I know that many of you are hoping that, you put $1,000 in Palantir at $5, and then, next month it will be $10, and then the month after that 15, and then the month after that 20. But wouldn't it be better if you actually get the time to really, increase your income and, buy Palantir for $1,000 per month, every month for the next, 2 to 4 years, where you can actually build up a very significant portfolio in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then when the stock 10x's or 20x's from there, then it really becomes a life-changing amount. And this is how long-term diamond-handed investors are rewarded. And this is how they have exponential returns. And just to show you what it looks like, I want to show you Tesla's stock price from, this is 2013. You can see that this was 2019. The stock touched the same price that it was in 2013. And actually one investor called Ron Barron really bought for hundreds of millions of dollars Tesla here. And he was just sitting on it, diamond hands, and he was sitting and looking, and he was seeing how, at this time the Model S was just released, and then he was looking at that they're releasing new models, they're proving how they can produce, they were even proving that they can profitably produce. And, then the Model 3 was ramping and the demand was not going away. And then within the scope of 1 year, the stock price basically 20x. And I think that this is the best case scenario that can happen to us. I know it's very counterintuitive and we all want somewhere inside that the stock should shoot up, but it's financially not the best thing that can happen. So this was my full confession about my views on Palantir. Let me know what you think, and thank you for watching. Let me know how much you have invested in Palantir and what are your hopes. And obviously I can be wrong about Palantir, and if it only does 5x, am I going to cry? No. If it only does 3x, am I going to cry? No. But if I can choose, I want to invest into things that can 10 and 20x, because one day they might. Thank you again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.